Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another Supatease video. And in this one, we are going to be reviewing the hero talents Herald of the Sun, which are available to both Holy and Retribution paladins. These are the hero talent systems coming in the next expansion, War Within, that are likely going to be very character defining for your class and really important to know about. And if you want to make sure you're staying up to date with news related to World of Warcraft, then smash that subscribe button. Your support is greatly appreciated. But let's get started. The first capstone of this hero talent is called Sunspot. For Holy Paladins, this is going to affect your ability Holy Prism, causing your next two Holy Power spending abilities to create a sunspot on your target, dealing radiant damage or healing over 8 seconds. Currently, Holy Prism, at least in PvP, is next to useless. So I'm curious if this is enough on its own to make it not useless. It's definitely interesting. It's going to be giving you a damage over time effect, which is probably dispellable, and a heal over time effect, which I'm thinking is probably also dispellable, but may give you purge protection for things like your Blessing of Protection or your Freedom, which could be really important. For Retribution Paladin, Wake of Ashes is now going to cause your next two Holy Power spending abilities to create a sunspot on your target, dealing radiant damage or healing over 8 seconds. So your Word of Glory, which I wonder if it's going to be purgeable, so you can use it to protect your freedoms if you're moving across the map, or it's going to be adding a dot to you. So I'm wondering if this talent is going to focus around expurgation for Ret and just being a dot class, which Retribution Paladin and Holy Paladin being a heal over time effect class has never happened. So, but for both specs, 10% of Sunspot's damage and healing radiates to nearby allies or enemies, reduced beyond 5 targets, giving you some nice kind of like little bit of bursty AoE, which is going to be super desirable in PvE, but in PvP it's probably going to break crowd control, so likely going to be a little bit frustrating on that side of that. As we move down the left side of the tree, we got Morning Star. Every 5 seconds, your next Sunspot's damage or healing is increased by 5%, stacking up to 10 times. So you can get a really significant Sunspot. Morning Star stacks twice as fast while out of combat. Gleaming Rays is the other choice. While a Sunspot is active, your Holy Power spenders deal 10% increased additional damage or healing. That is going to be really good for Ret Paladin burst damage. Templar's Verdict already hits really hard, so this is going to provide you a lot of burst, whereas this is focused around the dot. And I wonder how frustrating it's going to be with Dispel, assuming that it's magic and it's dispellable. You might not want to focus that, at least in PvP. You're probably going to want to go for more just guaranteed burst damage. Illumine, Sunspot reduces the movement speed of enemies by 50% and increases the movement speed of allies by 20%, so giving you a more consistent snare, which I think as Holy Paladin you don't have any, so giving you the ability to snare targets as a Holy Paladin. Will of the Dawn, movement speed increased by 5% while above 80% health, and when your health is brought below 35%, your movement speed is increased by 40%. So just flat out more movement speed for Ret Paladins. You're going to be moving a little bit faster. If you focus around using the Sunspot with your Word of Glory, you can get a 20% sprint. This is a little bit more guaranteed overall, although it can only trigger every 60 seconds when you get bursted down low. For Aurora, we've got Holy. After you cast Holy Prism, gain Divine Purpose, which is now creating some more value to Holy Prism as a talent and ability in general. For Retribution Paladin, after you cast Wake of Ashes, you're going to gain Divine Purpose, so just going to be giving you even more damage. That's going to be great for Ret Paladin. Eternal Flame, so this is returning ability, I think, for Holy Paladins. It's also going to be available for Ret. It's going to replace your Word of Glory. This is going to heal an ally immediately and over 20 seconds. Healing increased by 25% when cast on self. So you're getting a little bit more mobility. You're getting self-healing. You're getting a lot of heal over time effects that are probably going to give you purge protection for some of your more important spells. So this could be really good if you're fighting mages to keep dot damage on them while they're kiting you and give you purge protection. Although they might just strip everything off of you and get this really powerful heal, so maybe it backfires. But Eternal Sun, Sunspot's duration is increased by 2 seconds, and Eternal Flame's duration is increased by 3 seconds. Lingering Radiance, Sunspots leave an eternal flame for 12 seconds on allies, or a greater judgment on enemies when they expire or are extended. That seems really fun, at least for Holy extending your eternal flames. Solar Grace, your haste is increased by 4% for 12 seconds. Each time you apply a Sunspot, multiple stacks may overlap. Haste is not super desirable as Holy, but maybe it will be more if you've got multiple heal over time effects ticking. You're almost like going to be like a Resto Druid in a way. But for Ret, giving you flat out haste is going to be really nice. On to the right side of the talent tree here, we're going to squeeze this over a bit and move myself out of the way before we jump into this one, because this is not wanting to work with me here. Okay, Luminosity. Holy, critical strike chance of Holy Shock and Light of Dawn increased by 10%. This is going to give you more mana efficiency. When your Holy Shock crits, you get Flash of Light. For Retribution Paladin, critical strike chance of Hammer of Wrath and Divine Storm are going to be increased by 10%, giving you, some nice AoE in PvE and some execute power in PvP. Seer, Holy Shock and Light of Dawn critical strikes cause the target to burn for additional radiant damage over 4 seconds or to be healed for 4 seconds. So you're getting the Sunspots, you're getting the Eternal Flame, and you're getting Seer, providing you 3 extra heal over time effects as Holy. For Retribution, Hammer of Wrath and Divine Storm critical strikes cause the target to burn for additional radiant damage, making your execute and your AoE. I wonder if there'll be any Divine Storm builds possibly in PvP when you can stack up multiple targets, given how much dot damage this might potentially be able to do. Second, Sunrise. Holy Shock and Light of Dawn have a 15% chance to cast again at 30% effectiveness. This is really good for Holy Shock. Light of Dawn in PvP, not really so big. For Retribution, Hammer of Wrath and Divine Storm have a 15% chance to cast again at 30% effectiveness. And I assume when they cast again, they'll also have a chance to, Sunseer? Will it refresh the Sunseer? Will it just add into the Sunseer? That's something that I'm not 100% certain on. But I would assume that you would hope that it's going to add into the Sunseer or add you an extra hot on like multiple Sunseers on the target. But that might just be getting crazy in terms of how much purge protection you can have. So overall, it seems like a really big focus on giving you a playstyle that has not been available to Ret or Holy really, by being a heal over time or a damage over time spec. Now, the Capstone talent here, which I'll get out of the way for you guys, is Sun's Avatar, and then I'll immediately zoom out. During Avenging Wrath, you become linked to your Sunspots. What does that mean? Causing radiant damage to enemies or healing to allies that pass through the beam. So this is the Unholy Death Knight ability that they have. I don't know if they still have it, where they shot that orange beam to their pet, and it was destroying people in PvP for a long time. So I think they're probably going to take that same spell effect. It's reduced beyond 5 targets. Activating Avenging Wrath applies 4 Sunspots onto nearby allies or enemies and increases Sunspots damage and healing by 20%. So when you activate Avenging Wrath, you can get all these Sunspots out, and it's going to give you a bunch of haste from Solar Grace, and then you're going to be spreading a whole bunch of dots on everybody, utilizing Eternal Flame as a heal. I think as Ret, you're maybe not super excited about this, but as Holy, I think you definitely are. So Sunspots are going to go everywhere. You're going to get heal over time effects. You're going to get laser beams coming out. You're going to be a disco ball heal over time paladin or damage over time effect paladin with this build specifically. I think Holy Paladins will likely be more excited about this, at least when it comes to PvP, because typically, you've been really susceptible to crowd control for a long time because you don't have heal over time effects, and this could likely, shore up that weakness. So a very interesting talent tree. Definitely a much different approach, I think, than a lot of the other ones, because it's completely redefining your archetype and your role as a paladin, which has typically been like burst, healing, or damage, and giving you a new identity. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Are you excited for this, or does this completely clash with what you're expecting with paladin and doesn't meet your expectations? Because again, we're trying to provide as adequate of feedback as possible, as early as possible, so that things can be looked at and addressed. Other than that, thank you very much for watching the video. I hope that you've enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.